think of the places and spaces where I've been. As a hyphenated person, I've always felt disconnected to the land. When you're told you don't belong here, there, or anywhere, you start to feel like an alien no matter where your feet land. That was my story for a long time. You're not Chinese enough, you're not Indonesian enough, you're not Canadian enough. You know, I started to wonder that racist remark for myself, the one hurled at me one too many times. What if I did go back to where I came from? Where would that be? What land? Does it take me to the highly fertile acidic soils of Indonesia where I took my first breath? Or the dense neutral soil of China that only my ancestors have journeyed across? Or the organic rich soil of Canada that my feet have known so well, 20 years to be exact? I often look down at my feet, check to see where they've landed. I use it as a grounding practice, and it brings me pain and privilege. Throwing away shoes have always been an emotional task for that reason. I remember the places it has seen, the roads it has stepped on, the bridges it's crossed. But then I remember that it's not the footwear that holds the memory, it's my feet that holds the memory. Our bodies hold memories too, maybe more than our minds can hold or handle, just like clay and how it holds memory. It remembers every movement from the hands, every pull, every pull. Sitting here, I am reminded to be still. Maybe that's why I'm so drawn to the potter's wheel. It teaches me to breathe heavy, to be present, to be here now. When you feel like you don't belong anywhere, it naturally makes sense to find home in the in-between, in the commute, in the transport, in the wandering, constantly on the move. Like pink noise, clamor, waltzes in unannounced. He introduces himself as a safe space. I run into his open arms. A glamorous guise. His glamorous appeal is nothing but optics, steeped with lies, a steep bill, a life not everyone can afford, a life of ignorance I dare not seek of my own accord. Truth is, we're not meant to be on the run. We're meant to be. No wonder there was a disconnection to the land for me. You see, when you move around so much, you convince yourself you're floating. Like a hovercraft, close enough to the ground but never touching. Like a runner training for a marathon in between strides. Like the feeling you get when you fall in love at first sight. Like the relief you get when treading ocean water with the sun shining above you. 3, 2, 1. But then the moment is gone. Gravity pulls a win, you lose. Problem is, well, the problem never was the gravity or the floating, or even the exploration. It was the fear of digging into the mud. But when I finally did, the sensation led to a self-discovery. Ethnicity is not authenticity, though it shares in part of my identity. Nationality can claim my citizenship, but not my lifelong partnership. My home address is the best way to find me, but not the best way to reach I am me. Where I find me, digging into the mud, here, there, anywhere, authentic in my own right. It reached for me. Like the reclaimed clay, I reclaim my own identity. Into the ground, back into the dust. Hannah Whitall Smith once said, in order for a lump of clay to be made into a beautiful vessel, it must entirely be abandoned to the potter and must lie passive in the hands. Surrender. Surrender? I thought that made me weak. Turns out, surrender brings me to my knees, and it's not a terrible place to be. On my knees, I found a proximity to the earth, a closeness to the ground, a closeness to the feeling of home. I found home when my knees hit the ground. I find home when my knees touch any ground. Now I know how to connect to the ground. I used to feel like a foreigner no matter where I stood, especially my 5-year-old feet. But now they are calloused to receive the welcome that was always present beneath. A dynamic once fraught, knotted, now welcomes me for the taking. So I take and give, take and give, take, give. Could it be that I stand where you once stood? The dirt beneath and between your toes like soul food. Look at where our feet land. In this very space for this blip of time gathered, the way generations past have gathered. You may have traveled far or near. We all come with different mileage, but may we see each other, welcome each other, care for each other, the way the earth embraces, knowing no bounds, no boundaries. And may we see, may we welcome, may we care for the earth right back, so that we give and never only to take. For the lakes are our tears, and the valleys are where we bury all fears.